Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our town hall meeting for today. I'm your host. My name is Tali Mwala Mugala. I'll be your host for today. I'd like to welcome everyone who has joined us on time. So to start our meeting today, I'll just introduce the topic that we have today. So we're looking at protecting your finances, how to identify an investment scam or fraud. So we'll be talking fraud. Before we start the meeting, we'll just give a few minutes to allow a few more people to join. Just 5 minutes, then we'll start.
How my little boy loved to play with kites.
All right.
My family has always been a generation of dreamers. That's why when I saw how my little boy loved to play with kites, I knew it was time to stop dreaming and start investing towards a reality that would make my son's dream to fly come to life. When it comes to investing, it doesn't matter how small you start. What matters is that you start. Because I invested in something long-term, my son is no longer flying kites.
Good morning, passengers. Welcome aboard this flight. I'm your pilot for this flight. We have got taxi and we'll be taking off in the next few minutes. Thank you.
Money grows. Be a part of a generation of future investors by investing in stocks and bonds on the Zambian capital market. The Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting investors in the capital market. My family has always been a generation of dreamers. That's why when I saw how my little boy loved to play with kites, I knew it was time to stop dreaming and start investing towards a reality that would make my son's dream to fly come to life. When it comes to investing, it doesn't matter how small you start. What matters is that you start. Because I invested in something long-term, my son is no longer flying kites.
Good morning, passengers. Welcome aboard this flight. I'm your pilot for this flight. We have got taxi and we'll be taking off in the next few minutes. Thank you.
Money grows. Be a part of a generation of future investors by investing in stocks and bonds on the Zambian capital market. The Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting investors in the capital market. My family has always been a generation of dreamers. That's why when I saw how my little boy loved to play with kites, I knew it was time to stop dreaming and start investing towards a reality that would make my son's dream to fly come to life. When it comes to investing, it doesn't matter how small you start. What matters is that you start. Because I invested in something long-term, my son is no longer flying kites.
Good morning, passengers. Welcome aboard this flight. I'm your pilot for this flight. We have got taxi and we'll be taking off in the next few minutes. Thank you.
Money grows. Be a part of a generation of future investors by investing in stocks and bonds on the Zambian capital market. The Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting investors in the capital market.
Okay. Good afternoon once again. Thank you for joining us. If you have just joined us, we would like to welcome you to our town hall this afternoon, which is about protecting your finances and how to identify an investment scam or just how to identify fraud. So we're talking fraud today. As you are aware, we have been running these town hall meetings for the past, should I say 1 year? We started in January of 2021, and we're now in January of 2022. And we would like to thank everybody who stayed with us throughout this journey. And we hope you've learned quite a lot from the different discussions that we've had on the town hall meetings. So like I've said, today we're talking fraud, and our speaker and presenter for today is Ranga Kondolo, who's our manager for financial inclusion at the Securities and Exchange Commission. Without further ado, I'll be handing over to Ranga to take us through the presentation. But before I do so, just a few housekeeping rules. Kindly mute your mics as you join the meeting, turn off your cameras, and utilize the chat box for questions and contributions that you may have. At the end of the presentation, Mwanga will attend to your questions. He'll invite you to unmute your mic and you can ask your questions. And would like it to be as interactive as possible. So please feel free to ask your questions. You can also give your experiences, especially that this is a topic that affects all of us. Okay, thank you so much. I'll hand over to Mwanga now.
Thank you, Stali, for that introduction. Please just confirm if you can hear me audibly enough.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So as introduced, my name is Mubanga Kondolo. I'm the manager for financial inclusion here at the Securities and Exchange Commission. We have been undertaking these town halls for quite a while now, just to sensitize the general public and just to make you aware about different aspects pertaining to the securities market, or popularly known as the capital markets. So today's session will particularly look at investment frauds and scams and how you can try and identify those suspected frauds and scams and how you can avoid them. Okay, so just to kickstart my presentation, I'll quickly go through the contents. I'll give a brief introduction to who we are, the Securities and Exchange Commission, popularly known as the SEC, and then an overview of the capital markets landscape. We'll go look at the background and the rationale for this presentation, and then we'll try and define what investment frauds and scams are, how you can avoid those investment frauds and scams, how you can identify red flags, and where you can possibly report investment frauds and scams that are being suspected. So who is the Securities and Exchange Commission? The SEC basically is the regulator for capital markets in Zambia. It was established through an act of parliament, the Securities Act Cap 354 of 1993, which was repealed and replaced by the Securities Act number 41 of 2016 to regulate the capital markets in Zambia. So we are an apex body in that regard. Sorry, Mr. Kama, please mute your mic. Thank you. So as I was saying, the SEC is an apex body, in one of the apex bodies in the financial sector, alongside other peer regulators who you may already know, the Bank of Zambia, which regulates the money markets, and the Pensions and Insurance Authority, which regulates the pensions and insurance sectors. So the SEC aims to ensure that the Zambian capital markets are operating in a free, orderly, fair, and efficient and secure manner, and that all players are properly informed and all investors protected. So our overall mandate as the SEC is investor protection, which we do by creating and promoting conditions that are aimed at ensuring an orderly growth, integrity, and development of our markets. So this is a high-level overview of the capital markets. This is the ecosystem, which is really illustrating the different types of players that are in the market and the type of activity that happens. If you look at the top here where it says capital markets, we have the Ministry of Finance, we have the Securities and Exchange Commission, capital market operators, such as the Lusaka Securities Exchange, dealers of securities. We have fund managers, investment advisors, and so on. We also have issuers of investment products or various securities in the capital markets. And then we have the investors who can either be public investors or individual investors such as yourselves. On the far right, you will see the investor there, as I mentioned, either being retail or institutional. And on the, you will see projects that are in need of capital. And in the center there is where the capital markets lie, with the players that I mentioned earlier, or facilitating the intermediation of capital from those with excess capital, with excess savings or idle savings that can possibly channel to productive sectors. So if you look at the projects in need of capital, I've highlighted these specifically in green because we're trying to also promote a sustainable development. Now we have the green economy, which is trying to promote the sustained economic growth. So you will find that you have a wide array of projects that need capital there. Your recycling plants, solar energy production or renewable energy production. And then we will have on the far right, the excess capital, which can be channeled through the capital markets through various investment instruments. This could be in the form of bonds, equities, which can be shares, basically a representation of a stake or equity in a corporation that is listed on the securities exchange. So, overall speaking, that is the overview of the capital markets ecosystem. Now, speaking to the main agenda for today, you may be asking yourselves, why is there a need to sensitize the general public about investment frauds and scams? You may agree with me that in general, there has been an increased increased incidences of financial fraud at a global scale. Zambia hasn't been a stranger to this activity. And also, there has been increased financial inclusion, which has been driven, I think, primarily by digital platforms. Someone in Kasempa or Mongo today can be a player in the financial system. But also that opens it up for other manipulators outside the orderly system to try and take advantage of people that are using these digital financial services or financial products for their gain. And they take advantage of that to try and disadvantage them in that regard by performing dubious means or pretending to be investors, investment advisors, for instance, or pretending to be investment managers, pretending to be fund managers, and thereby luring these innocent people into utilizing their services. So because we did realize that there was an increase in such kind of activity, in fraudulent activity, the SEC did partner with the Bank of Zambia and the Pensions and Insurance Authority to try and curb that sort of behavior in the markets. So some of the unregulated products that we did observe pertaining in the markets were in form of pyramid schemes, Ponzi schemes, and other fake investment schemes, which became incumbent for us to really try and empower potential victims of that financial fraud or scam, and in essence, making us undertake initiatives that were aimed at helping potential victims to try and curb some of these behaviors that were pertaining. In red is just a research finding from PricewaterhouseCoopers Global Economic Crime and Fraud Survey 2020, just to show what extent there has been a loss in the financial system as a result of financial fraud or scams. That's $42 billion, which is quite a substantial amount of money. How do we define frauds and scams? This is basically the illegal sale of purported sale of investment products. These products could be the sale of shares, the sale of bonds, or the sale of collective investment schemes, if you're looking at the capital markets. And they're basically performed by either individuals or also firms that are unlicensed. So the perpetrators can be either an individual or an organization. We dig deeper into looking at some of the common types of investment frauds and scams. As the first one, we have affinity fraud. This type of fraud essentially targets identifiable groups that have a tight-knit structure. These identifiable groups, when put into context in our local setup, could be your local churches, could be your village savings banks, for example, village banks, groups, and also ethnic groups. So essentially, there will be some outsiders that will pretend to be part of those groups and will reach out to the elders in those groups, claiming to have some investment schemes and use those elders to lure other members of those tight-knit structures. So they really do take advantage of the tight-knitness of the structures because they know that it's almost close to impossible for members of the same group to try and defraud the other. Another type of fraud is called advance fee fraud, where you find the fraudsters requesting the investor to pay an upfront payment, which may be disguised as a fee. It could also be disguised as a commission or a tax. Usually, the fraudster says these fees will be refundable upon the investor having access to those sort of products that are being advertised. We continue with the common types of investment frauds and scams. We also have binary options fraud, which I think are slowly gaining prominence here in Zambia. These are usually online-based or internet-based contract options where the payout depends on yes or no propositions. The contract option basically is an investment instrument or an investment product where you are able to gain from a future price. So if today, for example, you say, I will put in 100 kwacha, and based on the investment advice that you've received from the fraudster, they may advise you to say 6 months from now or a year from now, that 100 kwacha will turn into a 10,000 kwacha, for instance. But because of the nature of investment products, they do appreciate and they do depreciate. So when you enter into a binary option, you do not have a choice of a buyback, for example, throughout that period of 12 months. So as an example, if that 12-month elapses, the 12-month period elapses, and your share price of the binary option that you purchased is 0, that essentially means you lose all your investment and you have no power of negotiation or power of buyback. So fraudsters have also taken advantage of those characteristics of the binary options. We also have internet and social media fraud. This is where there is a high use of misrepresentation to lure potential investors. If you look to the top left, that is Hush Puppy, who was involved in high activities of cybercrime. He was recently extradited to the United States for defrauding organization in amounts of over $42 million. So if you look at the sort of lifestyle he was living, he's an Instagram celebrity, a social media platform. It's one that many people will admire. If you can see he's on a private jet, reading a Forbes magazine, clad in Louis Vuitton. So essentially, some people would reach out to this fraudster because they admire that sort of lifestyle. And that is where their downfall begins. And then also there is use of misleading information or brochures or investment brochures using the internet and social media, because it's a platform that allows people to reach the mass market without necessarily having to put in a lot of work. Another common type of fraud or scam that I mentioned earlier, I think, is the Ponzi scheme. This is an investment fraud that pays existing investors with funds collected from new investors. So the fraudster essentially will devise a non-existent investment company, invite investors to put in their financial resources, claiming that those resources are being invested in projects that are very lucrative, but in essence, those projects are non-existent. And the Ponzi scheme really relies on new investors to pay off the old investors. So the moment there are no new investors or there's a large withdrawal of funds from the scheme, it eventually comes to a crumble and it basically collapses. At the bottom there, I've also highlighted another popular fraudster who started out very well as a renowned investment advisor, and at one time also chaired the Securities and Exchange Commission of the United States. Bernie Madoff, some of you may have heard about him. He managed to defraud people of $64 billion, which I think is one of the biggest scams history has ever recorded to date. We also have a pyramid scheme, which is similar to the Ponzi scheme, except that it's usually also disguised as a legitimate business. Examples of these, they may claim to be a multi-level marketing company, but the main difference here is that it solely thrives on the promotion of new recruitments at a cost. So it also relies on new recruits to be able to pay off already existing members of the group. We also have the pump and dump scheme as another type of investment fraud and scam. This is basically where there is a false promotion of stock prices. So if I'm a fraudster, I will basically or essentially build a marketing strategy that will create hype and also use misleading information, maybe stating that we have inside information that will be driving the stock price up of a particular stock. That will definitely, to a great degree, cause potential victims to buy into those stocks. And at that particular point, the fraudsters will basically start offloading or dumping into the market their stocks, and people will be buying the stocks. And eventually, once they've reached their cap in terms of what they wanted to benefit from, they basically exit the market and the investors are at a loss. I thought I should pause here, maybe by show of hands. Has anyone in this group or in this room, the Zoom room, experienced any type of such message that I've highlighted? This was a message that I received from a close friend. which eventually was leading me or enticing me to invest $25,000 because she was claiming to have made $25,000 in 3 hours. And I eventually found out that her account was actually hacked. Stali, are you able to see any hands? Has anyone experienced this sort of message? Okay, I see one there.
I've seen a hand, but it says hi, unless he would like to say something. Mr. Ronald Mukale, would you like to share something?
Yes, I have experienced that. My account was hacked, and it's actually just still hacked up to now. And most of my friends have been texting me. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, so most of my friends have been texting me and telling me, saying, is this real? Is this real? And I told them, say my account was hacked. So up to now, even if you check my Instagram account, it's still hacked by the same person.
Thank you for that experience. I think quite a number of people are experiencing this sort of enticement through hacked accounts. Also through the mobile monies where people will pretend to have sent you money wrongfully, or also enticing you to invest in some mine deals and so on and so forth. So I think we just need to be wary of such messages. Now, how can you avoid investment frauds and scams? I think the easiest way that we recommend is to embrace investor education and become a smart investor. The Securities and Exchange Commission is a co-implementer of a national strategy, which you may already be familiar with. It's the National Strategy on Financial Education for Zambia, which is spearheaded by the Ministry of Finance, the Bank of Zambia, the Pensions and Insurance Authority, and by ourselves, as I mentioned. Basically, that strategy tries to promote people to have improved knowledge, skills, understanding, motivation, and confidence so that they can make secure, positive financial decisions for themselves and their families. So under that umbrella, we do also undertake targeted initiatives. One which is particular to capital markets is called the World Investor Week, which takes place every October, and I think is a good teachable moment for those that are interested in elevating their investor education skills. But aside that, we also do have these town halls every week, and we have also impromptu activities or ad hoc activities once in a while. So basically, investor education enables you to become a smart investor. And once you're a smart investor, you're able to perform certain tasks which will help you identify or avoid some of these frauds and scams. You'll be able to undertake due diligence in a sense that you will be able to verify if an investment professional is licensed. This is very key because for anyone to perform any investment-related service, they ought to be licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission, because that also enables you to have some sort of recourse in the event that there is some complaints that needs to be resolved. And I think that there is that formal redress system that is provided, as opposed to you dealing with a non-licensed investment professional. You will also be able to conduct research on a product before investing. You will also be able to I'm getting some feedback. Stali, am I audible, or is it just on my side?
Yeah, okay now.
Okay, thank you. So as a smart investor, you are able to assess the impact of the fees when choosing an investment, you're able to shop around basically with the different investment products and services that are being offered, and select one which speaks to your needs and which is within your financial capacity. You're also able to understand that risks exist in all investments. I think there isn't any investment you can undertake that doesn't have any risk. But you will get those sort of sentiments when dealing with fraudsters who will guarantee you of a return on investment even when the market conditions do not allow. You'll be able to avoid get rich quick and can't lose schemes when you are a smart investor. You can be able to leverage the power of compound interest, which I think exists in various investment securities like bonds, basically helping you to grow your initial investment at a faster rate. And then you can recognize the importance of diversification. I think you will learn that to mitigate the risk, you will probably choose to spread your risk among the different types of investment products. So you may opt to have asset classes where you invest in shares, another asset class in real estate, and another asset class in a bond, corporate bond, for instance. You can also be able to plan and invest according to your future needs and goals. If you're a retiree, for instance, it is highly unlikely that you will be investing in long-term assets. But because you are now empowered with that investor education, you will probably look at quicker earning investment products like collective investment schemes, which can run for a tenure of 12 months, or you can be able to liquidate within the specified period. You will also be able to recognize the benefit of long-term, regular, and diversified investments, which is similar to what I mentioned before. How can you spot the warning signs of investment frauds and scams? So basically, I've listed some of those warning signs. One, dealing with an unlicensed investment professional. Dealing with an unlicensed investment professional that is offering an unregistered investment products. So before any investment product is offered on the market legally, it should be registered with the SEC. 3, there's a sense of aggressive marketing or sales strategy. Imagine a situation where you're just waking up to a phone call by your investment advisor telling you to urgently buy shares or bonds. Before you can even reach the office, another call comes urging you to do the same because they will run out and so on. All those are signs of suspected investment frauds and scams. And then also abnormally high investment returns with little to no risk. If you're being offered investment returns that are not making sense, for instance, there's been offers of, say, 20% interest per week or 5% interest per day. We did have a case study of one unlicensed firm called Heritage Coin, which was providing or promising about close to 2% interest per day, and purporting to be investing the money into crypto assets. But when clients faced challenges, they did reach out to the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Bank of Zambia. And when investigations were done, there were actually no cryptocurrencies or any investment products being invested on behalf of the investors. The directors of the company were actually buying personal goods from China, but on the ground, they were offering 1.6%. So those are the kind of questions you should be asking yourself. If the bank can offer you a 5% to 20% maximum in a year, what business would these fraudsters be undertaking that is providing 20% interest in a week? And then guaranteed and fixed returns on investment. I spoke to this earlier. In situations where the market conditions are very bad, but you're being offered high interest rates, which are guaranteed and claiming to have little or no risk at all, that should be a big red flag. Also, payment delays and urging you to roll over your investments will be another cause for concern. Another one could be disclosure issues to do with documentation in terms of the prospectus of the investment, which is basically showing you the different asset classes, the return on investment, the calculations, a high-level key fact statement of your investment. If the investment professionals are failing to provide that, that should be a red flag. And then also disclosure concerning the licenses. For instance, if you want to see is the firm I'm dealing with or the person I'm dealing with licensed, there is no proof of that. That should also be another cause for concern and a potential red flag. Finally, where can you report suspected investment fraud? Those are the three key institutions: ourselves, the Securities and Exchange Commission, Bank of Zambia, and the Drug Enforcement Commission. Come to the end of my presentation. Thank you. Over to you, Stali.
Okay, thank you so much, Mbanga. That was a very elaborate presentation. Do we have any questions from our audience? We invite questions at this point. There's a hand from Luyako. Luyako, you can unmute yourself and make your contribution. Hello.
Hello, can you get me?
Yes, we can get you now.
Okay. Thank you very much for this meeting, and thank you for the presentation. So I would just like to know, how can we, you've spoken of us looking into, licensed investment advisors. How can we verify an investment advisor or someone who claims to be an investment advisor? Even when they present a license, we as a public, we don't know how the license looks like. So is there a platform where we can verify such a person, or are there any mechanisms of verifying someone who claims to be an investment advisor or registered with the SEC? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question, Mr. Luyako. I can actually take that question. So to verify that somebody has an investment advisor, or someone's investment advisory license is legit or is actually from the SEC, you can take a look at the SEC website. We have a list of all our investment advisors. So everybody that is licensed under SEC, especially as an investment advisor and dealer, you will find them listed on our website.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and then you can also just call in and ask to see what the SEC license looks like, so that you are aware. But for verification, it's then best to just give us a call or to check our website. We will be able to tell you if this person is appearing on our database as a licensed dealer.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to Philip Ngongo and Nansamba in that order.
Okay, thank you so much, Sek, for holding this wonderful meeting. So mine is just, I think it's just a comment. I've been seeing a lot of adverts on. Am I audible enough?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Thanks. I've been seeing a lot of adverts talking about investing in cryptocurrency on Facebook from Yellow Card. So, but to me, I'm a bit educated about investment, and I know that investing in cryptocurrency, things like Bitcoin, is a bit risky. But those adverts, which maybe people see on Facebook, they are not disclosure statements, and they don't talk about the risk component. So there could be people who have money. For example, someone is saving for pension, and they allocate money to this kind of investment. And if you look around what has been happening to Bitcoin, it has lost over 60 billion in market value. And I don't know if there's anything that you're doing around that, because people are getting excited. There's an advert, people are making jokes, then at the end, they are encouraging people to put their money in cryptocurrency. I think this is dangerous, and maybe SEC has to look into it, or Bank of Zambia. I know their Yellow Card is licensed, but how they are doing it is obviously may lead people to do things that can harm their finances or money. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gongo. I'll allow Mbanga to make a comment around that.
Thank you, Philip, for those remarks. Just to affirm also that Yellow Card is an institution that is under consideration in the Bank of Zambia regulatory sandbox. And because I've been part of the deliberations prior to their admission, I think some of the risk mechanisms that Yellow Card was encouraged. There's a mic.
Could you please mute your mic? Thank you, Mbanga. Sorry, you can go ahead.
Yeah, as I was saying, one of the key factors in terms of consumer protection and risk mechanisms that they were asked to do was put in place such disclosures that would be detailed. So I think it would just be a matter of checking in with them to see why that particular element is not being adhered to. But I think it's something that's very important. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mbanga. We can go to Msamba. You have your hand raised, and then Samuel.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for this meeting. It's been very educative. And I wanted to ask, is there a toll-free number that we can call to report suspected frauds? If there isn't one, can we be availed with numbers that we can call for like the SEC itself and BOS and DEC, so that we are able to report these fraudsters? Sometimes it's difficult to report because we don't have numbers to call. So I think it would be helpful if we had such numbers. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That's well noted. We will avail some numbers in the chat box. Sichone, kindly take care of that. Samuel, you can also go ahead and make your comment or contribution or question.
Yes, hi, how's it? I'm just trying to verify here because I believe that there's a lot of commonalities that we have on this side here in South Africa, because basically I'm looking for opportunities outside of the country where I'm staying, and I'm just also hearing the comments on this side, and we are also basically having one and the same problem. So I'm just hoping that after this meeting, there can be more sessions whereby we can work together, if that is making a lot of sense.
Thank you, Samuel, for that. You can drop your email in the chat, or you can also get our email from there. Sichone will put it up. Then you can get in touch via mail and see how we can work together and assist you with what you need from our end. Vanga, anything else you'd like to mention?
Yeah, just to basically state that we are open for various partnerships. We have an open door policy. So please feel free to call upon us or check in with us anytime. And just to try and explore areas of commonality where we can partner.
Okay, thank you. We have another hand from Hope Stumbeko. Please go ahead. Hope Stumbeko, please go ahead. Okay, for some
Hello?
reason, yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. No, thank you so much for the presentation and also just for the platform. Mine is a question on what efforts are being made to ensure that the SEC, BOS, DEC, even the police are proactive in stopping some of these fraud activities that happen in the public. The reason I'm asking this is because earlier on when Wanga was making his presentation, he had asked to say, have any experienced fraud out there? And while I have not experienced it myself, I've almost experienced it. But the situation was a car dealer. It was a company that had been set up maybe some 10 years ago, something like that. It was a car dealer. It was offering cars at a very affordable rate, and you put a small deposit and you're able to get a car. And then like Mwanga explained, they would of course use the first investors, so to say, or first buyers to then show credibility. And then, at a certain point, they closed off. But that operation was going on for over 5 months because some people even got cars, and then it was then brought to a halt after, like you say, they maybe reached their threshold or they started fearing risk. But the question is that if that operation runs for 5 months, where is SEC, where is BOS, where are the institutions that should ideally be able to pick this up even if the public hasn't realized it? So what efforts are made or are being made by these institutions, including now where you have these Airtel monies and things like that, the fraud that is related to that, because it's been happening very often. What systems are being put in place to ensure that they're able to capture or even at least reverse some before the fraudsters get away with the resources? I hope you've been able to hear me because my connectivity is bad.
No, we could hear you loud and clear, and we have noted your question. I'll allow Mbanga to respond to that. Talking about what initiatives we've put in. I'm sure I think he highlighted some even in his presentation, but Mbanga, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Stali. So I think we do have, as part of our investor protection mandate, some functions that help us to address some of these concerns. So within the SEC, we do have a function for market surveillance, which basically looks at market conduct and also looks out for those activities that are being carried out illegally. We also have a process of handling complaints where we receive complaints from the general public. Apart from formal complaints, we also receive whistleblower information, like an example I gave of Heritage Coin, which basically we received through a phone call. And through that, we instituted our own investigations and onboarded the Bank of Zambia and subsequently the DEC, which did the enforcement. In terms of the cross-coordination amongst the agencies, we do also have some mechanisms which just sort of tries to coordinate some of these issues to do with consumer protection and financial consumer protection. We have a joint working group and a memorandum of understanding between CCPC, Bank of Zambia, PI and SEC, which looks at issues that may border around fraud as well as scams. So I think overall speaking, those are some of the mechanisms that we have. Unless my colleagues from supervision would like to add.
Yeah, thank you, Mwanga. I was just about to actually call upon if we have anyone from supervision who could speak. Let me see if I see anybody from our platform. Is Ben in here? I can't see. Okay, I can't see anyone from our supervision team. Maybe if we have somebody else to speak about the collaborations we do. Is there anyone from, let's say, Bank of Zambia or PIA? Could also just add on to what the other institutions are doing to look at this fraud issue. I can see a hand from CEO. Mr. Chitalu, please go ahead.
Would also like to add after CEO.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Chitalu, please go ahead. Mr. Chitalu?
Yeah, Sitali, sorry, technology. Yeah, I think what the lady asked is very key, and it's a question that we keep receiving. I think the short answer is awareness. Awareness is at the top end of trying to stop fraud. Most of the times people are not aware of important facts around or surrounding investments, and they end up losing their money. Like Muvanga was saying, it's almost impossible that one could make interest of 20% in a day. But I don't know whether it's awareness or sometimes complete maybe not ignorance, but what's the word? Greediness, that we're trying to make so much money in a day, which if you are aware the way the financial markets or businesses operate, you could actually stay away from fraud. But sometimes we have also seen that in these times when the economy has been quite challenging, then there's more fraud because more people are trying to make money quickly, almost out of nothing. So I think we should just use common sense to see whether it's possible to invest 2,000 kwacha and make 20,000. We would all be very, very rich if that type of business was actually possible. So that's why we are holding these town hall meetings. I see 75 people on this call. We hope that 75 more people are more aware regarding fraud, and through you as our ambassadors, you can educate people surrounding yourselves so that next time you see a WhatsApp message, a Facebook message, that sounds too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. You will need to help us stop people. I think awareness is very, very key. More often than not, by the time we are aware, maybe 5,000 people have invested. So by the time ourselves, the central bank, DEC, are stopping something, a lot of people have been defrauded. I remember in the heritage coin example that has been given, people were even people were like trying to say, we are making a lot of money out of this. This is a genuine business, because they saw their neighbor make money. But mind you, Ponzi schemes have to let some people win so that the news spreads. So that's the way Ponzi schemes operate. The first people to go into a Ponzi scheme or a fraud will actually be given money so that they're used as foot soldiers to spread the good news. But that good news is usually very, very short-lived. So I cannot, so we cannot overemphasize. Somebody was trying to call me. I'm using my phone, I'm driving somewhere. We cannot overemphasize the need for awareness. I think I ended.
Thank you, CEO. I'm sure that's quite loud and clear. And before I allow the next two hands to speak, allow Thomas from our legal team to also make a contribution.
Okay, thank you, Study. No, just wanted to add up on awareness before CEO came in, and on some of the mechanisms that we have where we're able to detect some of these fraudulent activities. We've entered into MOUs with law enforcement institutions, like Mwanga pointed out, like the Zambia Police, the DEC, and the Anti-Corruption Commission. But we also encourage members of the public to just bring any information they might have about some of these suspected fraudulent activities. It will make it easier for the commission and some of the relevant law enforcement authorities to conduct the necessary investigations. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. And just as Thomas has said, the onus is on us to make sure we report anything that is suspicious. If it's too good to be true, please just report it and we will take it to the right institution. Even if it's not a SEC-related matter, we're able to hand it over to the right institution, like Thomas has mentioned, through our different MOUs and understandings that we have with the law enforcement agencies. I have another hand from Onesta, then have Samuel, and then Muganga.
Yes, this is Onesta. Thank you very much. I think this has been a very educative topic. But my concern is, especially when I heard the CEO talk about greediness on us who want to make quick money. Much as these people come in, we are all pointing fingers at them. But what is there to deter would be greedy people to join such a scheme, because already there are people who would want to earn money quickly. So I think what is SEC doing about it to stop others from doing such a thing? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. If CEO is still on the call, may I request that you take
Okay, Daddy, I can check it, but mind you, I'm on leave. Are you going to pay me overtime? Yeah, I think it's very, the observation correct, but mind you, the greediness is from us who wants to get rich quickly. So when we become aware of somebody in the community trying to offer such good products, we need to come forward, report to the relevant authorities. It's not necessarily reporting. Maybe get more information. The finance people call it due diligence. Before you put in your pension, your gratuity, you ask a couple of people around, where can I actually invest? Somebody is offering that, I give them 200,000. They're going to make me 1 million in a year. That just doesn't happen. So if you ask the relevant or the right people, they're probably going to tell you that it's not possible to make 800,000 kwacha on a 200,000 kwacha investment in a year. That's not the way the world operates. So we hope, Sitali, I think you need to tell the audience, they could actually even suggest specific topics that you could cover, especially those burning kind of issues in the community. But I also wanted to take advantage to say something about something that happened to one of my relatives, I think the wife, borrowing money from a Kaloba to go and put in a Chilimba, or the so-called village bank. That's also lack of awareness, lack of information, because the rate of return, the profit that is given by your village bank is unlikely to be higher than the Kaloba guy's interest. So that's awareness. So this is where we are trying to zero in on awareness, because if these 71 people are aware that this doesn't make financial sense, then we will be working or marching towards the winning goal line with, in unison. So awareness is the biggest issue. The SEC may not be present in each and every kind of environment, activity, and meetings, but you are our eyes. Get to be aware, and through you, we can achieve something. I hope, Sitali, I've addressed that issue of greediness. Is from the investors and not necessarily from the person who's trying to get money out of you. The guy who's trying to get money out of you, they already know what they want. Yeah. Like, we keep going back to the heritage coin. The guys were buying equipment out of China, and Zambians were busy giving them money. I think those guys collected over $2 million in 6 months. So sometimes even when you say Zambians have no money, I don't know how we managed to mobilize $2 million from small savings to enrich one specific individual. So awareness, awareness, and awareness.
Yes, CEO. Thank you so much for that. I hope that's helpful, Onesta, for your question. We are at 16 hours. We usually end our meeting at 16, but before we do end, we want to thank everyone for the questions and for the very interactive session that we've had. I have another question, I think 2 more in the chat, which I can quickly go through. Is there, this is from Mr. Harry Mafuta, who says, is there a separate whistleblower protection act or provision in the SEC Act that deals with whistleblowers as part of the investor protection? Are whistleblowers incentivized in terms of rewards after successful prosecution of perpetrators? Let me direct this to Thomas. Thomas, are you able to take this question?
Hi, Study. We do protect whistleblowers with respect to complaints that are made to the commission. Then with regard to the legal basis, there's the Whistleblowers Protection Act that is there to give protection to people who divulge certain information concerning some criminality or illegality. And within the commission, I think there's the whistleblowers policy, and we respect issues of confidentiality. Even when you give a certain information, we can guarantee you that confidentiality is one of our guiding principles in our investigation and enforcement work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. We have a couple of other hands. I can see Samuel and Ronald Mutale just before we close. And I'll ask them to speak, and then Sichoni will just take note and close for us.
So mine is not really a question, but it's just a contribution, and it's really encouraging that you're having such meetings and we are getting more sensitized on the frauds that happen around the world, or just even in Zambia. Because most of us in the diaspora right now, we are targets with these frauds that are happening. People are trying to invest back home in Zambia, and they're being defrauded in a number of ways. So just having these kind of meetings, it's really, really, really nice. And I'll see on how I can get in touch with my brother Mubanga Kondolo, so that I can have a full calendar of you guys on this great program, and I can try to extend it to my community here in Dallas and see a number of people that can come on board and participate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mtali.
Thank you, Mr. Mtali. Good to see you. He's a childhood friend, actually. It's good to have you on the platform.
All right, thank you, Manga.
Okay. Taking over from Sitali. So I think we also have one last question from Steve. He asks that why don't we have unit trusts that are 100% government owned? Muanga, could you answer that question as our last question?
Sorry, Stone, could you just repeat that?
Okay. So Steve asked the question, why don't we have unit trusts that are 100% government owned?
I think those are some of the interventions that we, just to mention that we are developing a capital markets master plan, a long-term strategy, 10-year long-term strategy for capital markets development. And those are some of the interventions being proposed. Not necessarily government owned, but how can the public sector catalyze that space with interaction, obviously, with the private sector, in partnership with the private sector. So those are some of the interventions that are in the process.
Oh, okay then. We thank you for that. Thank you for that answer, Muanga. And ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our town hall meeting. But we hope you have all shared the emails, your contact details, because we shall use those to send you the presentation that Muanga made in this meeting today. And just a humble reminder, our town hall happens every month, the last Thursday of the month. And our next town hall meeting will be titled Cryptocurrencies and Forex Trading, what they are, their similarities and differences. So we are definitely looking forward to seeing you then. So we've come to the end of our meeting. Thank you for your time and God bless.
Bye.
Thank you, Stone, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you,
Thank
Tony.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.